no, you have, when you develop an assessment, no, you have to make sure that you include several, digamos, several assessment tasks. No, the more assessment tasks you have, the better. Okay, because this will give you a certain, this will give you the certainty that you are evaluating different aspects of the language abilities. No, even if you're doing only a test for one ability, but still, no, you need different tasks, different assessment tasks. No, okay, that basically the idea is that you avoid inconsistency. No, okay, and the principle of generalizability. So remember that these are two principles in developing assessments. No? So it's always a good idea, no? And you, as a good teacher, when you're doing an assessment, include several assessment tasks. No? Con mayor razón, when you're doing, for example, a final exam, or an achievement test, or final exam, or etc. No, you have to include different assessment tasks. Yeah. Well, that's the summary in this first paragraph here. No? Because and remember these issues, no, that we have: meaningfulness, generalizability of interpretations, and well, and this concept of consistency. No? So keep always in mind that the assessment you are creating is meaningful, no? That it presents authentic tasks that students are going to see in real life. No? Yeah. Okay, now then we have the definition. What is an assessment task type? No? What is an assessment task type? Well, as you can see there, it says an assessment task type is defined by the activities and procedures, task characteristics, and a scoring method in an assessment task template. Multiple assessment tasks that are created by changing some of the teacher characteristics of the same assessment task template belong to the same assessment task type. So in other words, or in simple words, in plain words, we could say that an assessment task type is like the master format, no? It's we can say it's the original, or the primary task, no? Yeah, and when we develop the task template, no, based on this assessment task type, okay, then in the future, or even for the same quiz, or for similar quizzes or assessments, you can adapt this. No, you can make some changes and create a new assessment task. No, so it's like having a matrix. No, es como tener una matriz, and from this you can generate some similar templates. No, right. I think that's what we as teachers usually do. No, once we understand how the system works, no, how evaluations work, then when we have more expertise, then the next time for us it's kind of mechanic. No, you say, well, because this assessment task, for example, worked very well, then the next time I'm going to do something very similar. No? And so to give it some variety, so that the students won't get bored, no, you only change something. Now you say, well, for example, now I'm asking them to write something, for example, in writing, no, I'm asking them to give an opinion. No? Yeah, okay, and then you say, well, but next time I'm going to use something similar, but instead of writing an opinion, they're going to write a letter of complaint about that. No? Okay, but the rest, the other features of the template stay the same. No, For example, the group, the age, the language, the setting, and everything is the same. The only thing that changes is the name of the or we could say the label of the activity, no? And of course, when you change that, you change the specifications. No? Of course, in your template, you have to write all the changes, no? But basically, la plantilla sigue siendo la misma, no? That's more or less the idea. And it's something that we do as teachers, but now we're going to do it maybe more formally or using the proper templates, using the proper formats. Great. Yeah, could you change and go to the next page, please? Great. Then we have this okay, this photo here, this picture. That is a mind map, no? Showing how what we are saying now, no? Yeah. So the idea is that you can create multiple assessment tasks to assess the same areas of language ability from a single task template. For example, writing, ¿no? O sea, el mismo formato, okay, pero cambiando unas pocas cosas, ¿no? Can be used over and over again for writing, no? But for the same language ability. By changing, of course, some of the TCs from one task to the next. The process is illustrated in figure 9.1, as you can see here. No? So you have the matrix, no? Assessment task template, assessment task type characteristics. And then from there, you get assessment 1, assessment task 2, okay, assessment task, okay, on and on, no? So 7, whatever. And number one is basically is the original, no? It's the one from which the changes are made to convert them into new assessments, no? So that's the figure 9.1. No? Yeah. Okay. So then, okay, basically here, the author in the next lines explains the steps, no? The steps we follow to create one task, one new task following the template, no? The assessment task template. And so that's what you have in the next 2 lines here. No? Okay, so I'd like to have somebody, please. Somebody with a good computer where you can see clearly and read step 1. No? Step 1 and this and this bullet point included in number 1. No? Please.
Prof, me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, create one task following the assessment task template. That is, for each assessment task template, you will create one model assessment task that follows the assessment task template. A model assessment task is an assessment task that is created following the specifications in an assessment task template. This assessment task then serves as a basis for creating additional assessment tasks.
Okay, thank you very much. So in other words, now the first step is to create the task assessment template and incorporate in this one model task. ¿No? Lo importante es primero tener un patrón, un original, one model. From this model, you're going to make some copies. No, well, let's use this analogy. No, like think of this as the original document, and from the original you change something, the title or something, and then you make copies. But basically, it's the same, no? The same in a structure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Andreita, number 2.
Okay, create additional tags by A, keeping the definition of the ability to be assessed the same. B, keeping the attributes of the students, example, age, ability, level, etc. the same. And C, changing one or more of the, I don't remember the...
Yeah, that is the task characteristics.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, the thesis. Okay. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Okay, so as you can see, so the only thing you have to change is the some aspects, no, puede ser uno or more of the task characteristics, no. Remember that the task characteristics is this format where that has three components, no, setting, input, and expected response. Well, if you wait a few minutes, it's what we have on the next page, no? Task characteristics. So so you can change something about, for example, the setting, or you can change something about the time. You can change something about the form. Yeah. Or you can change 2-3 things of this, no, mentioned earlier. Great. And you have to keep, for example, the definition of the ability, and for the same group of students, for the same level, etc. No, so you change only the last part. Great.
Prof, when we are
Yes.
talking about the ability, are we talking about, for example, speaking, listening, this kind of thing?
Exactly.
Or,
Yes.
okay.
Reading, writing, listening, speaking, and probably, I don't know how other sometimes we put vocabulary in as another category, you know, or vocabulary and grammar is lo que le llaman the use of language could be another one. No? Yes, the use of language. Sometimes they put it as one, not together, use of language and vocabulary. So it's all this grammar using connectors, yeah, well, and vocabulary of the lesson, for example. Great, and so here we have examples, no? In this next section, we have examples. Okay, so what you are going to see is example 9.1, no? And the author explains, no, that for the following examples, because we're going to see 3. For the following 3 examples, the author has included first the setting. ¿No? Todos estos ejemplos tienen the setting. They have the task characteristics, no, with the assessment task template. They include the recording method. No? Remember, the recording method includes the rating scale, or sometimes the scoring key, no? Or sometimes you have both. No? And finally, 3 examples. No, 3 examples. 3 examples. Yeah. From these 3 examples, one is the original, is the model, and the other 2, no, are modified. No, modified assessment task templates. From the template change to create additional tasks. Yeah. And then after each example that you're going to see, you have the typical activities, no? For example, 9.1, 9.4, etc. Activities no, for you, no? To create, to review, no, the topics and to see the correlation. Great. Okay. So example 9.1 is what we have here. No? Writing a descriptive paragraph. No? And the author mentions here that the complete exercise, no, is on page 222. Example number 6, que le va a tocar a algún grupo, no? Because in this classwork, and in this presentation that you're going to do next week, we have 7 groups. So at least one group will have to do example number 6, no? But in full, no? With the descriptions, with the template, with everything, no? With everything. But here we're going to take only this, the original, the model, and then we're going to see how we can create 2 new modified templates. No, 2 modified assessment tasks. Yeah, great. and for the complete description of the assessment task. And so here you have the TCs, no? And what you see now, what you have here in this big table here is table 9.1, which describes the template, no? The assessment task template for this example, 9.1. And so, as you can see, the area is writing, no? The task is writing a descriptive paragraph about a musical instrument. It's something that we saw in the previous examples, no? Areas of language ability to be assessed is reading, but the task achievement is in descriptive writing, no? Task achievement and descriptive writing using appropriate range of grammar. Yeah, and so here are the 4 aspects to be assessed: grammar, vocabulary, and correct mechanics, no? Grammar, vocabulary, correct mechanics. And also, well, we're going to see then in the recording form, task achievement, no? But that is in the recording form. Yeah, and so and so we have the setting. Now, remember that the setting, it has 3 components. Now, the physical circumstances, that is, for example, the classroom, how the students are going to see it, the equipment you need, etc. The participants, usually the teacher and students. If you're going to work in groups of 4, etc. For example, here, teacher and students are going to work in groups of 4, teens, intermediate level. Yeah. Time of the task during the class period of the class. Yeah. Or you specify, if you have 2 hours, maybe it's 2 hours. I don't know. The input, oral, teacher's spoken description of the task. So the teacher is going to express everything. Maybe there's, well, for example, here there's a visual. There's a list of pictures of instruments. The teacher explains this in English. The teacher is going to use short utterances describing and explaining simple grammar and vocabulary. Length, oral, short utterances, visual, long, several pictures. The topical content is musical instruments. So I understand that because this might be level 1, I think. If it's describing a musical instrument. So that's why you have the teacher gives some short explanations, and not very long, not very complicated, because maybe it's level A1 or A2. Right, and expected response is usually the same. The form is, for example, visual. The students look at this, and then it's because they have to write, the output is something visual. It is their paper. The language in English organized, with what was mentioned before, grammar, vocabulary, 100 to 130 words, and the topical content is musical instruments. So this is what we can call the template, the model, the model of that we're going to use. Great. If we can scroll down a little bit more, we're going to see the recording method. The recording method is explained in the next 2 pages, not the recording method. We have 3 parts. First, we have table 9.2, which shows the recording method for the assessment task. Then table 9.3, the big one, the second one here on this page, is the rating scale. And the one on the next page is the recording form. The recording form. Yeah, I don't know if somebody please can read this section, recording method for assessment task.
Yes, Prof. Now I'm here.
Yeah. Okay,
My
great, great.
internet is
Please, thank
okay.
you.
Okay.
Please, can you read this section?
Okay. Type of assessment record. Score and writing feedback.
Written
As aspects of ability, for aspects of writing, task achievement, grammar, vocabulary, and mechanics. Um, Scoring method criteria, see the rating scale in table 9.3. For each aspect, 1 to 4, according to the rating scale. Score reported, total score, task achievement, plus grammar, plus vocabulary, plus mechanics. And finally, we have procedures. The teacher reads the students' paragraphs and arrives at the scores according to the rating scale, and entering their scores on the recording form, and then adds up the scores to arrive at a total score and enters this on the recording form. And the teacher provides written feedback on the recording form, and this is given back to the students during the next lesson.
During the next lesson. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so as you can see, it's basically what we as teachers do. Now, I'm sure that you all have administered exams, no, where one section is writing, no, and writing. And so when we have writing, we usually have the rubrics, no, or se llama the rating scale, no. When you scroll down, when you see the full picture, you see that it's a very good rating scale, no? That considers 4 aspects, for example, achievement, grammar, vocabulary, mechanics. If you want, you can have one more, so that you can have 5 times 4 para que les dé 20 puntos, no? Or here you can have, well, you can do your own numbers, no? You can do your own math here. Yeah, if you're working over 10 points or 20, you have to do the math there. Great. And so, well, basically, because you see this picture and you see the next one, you see the next table, I think it's self-explanatory. No? Well, of course, it's important that you explain this to the students. Now you say, well, you're going to be graded on the basis of this rating scale, and your grade will be the total score of this rating scale, no? And of course, you have to explain to students, no? And give them feedback, and then explain the grades, no? And all that. Mm-hmm. Great. And so, as you can see, we have a very good rating scale here, no? Very good one. And on the next page, if we can go on to the next page, we have the recording form, no? Can we go to the next page? Yeah, great. Yeah. So as you can see, this is a format where everything that you, I mean, the grades that you get from each aspects, now here, for example, achievement, grammar, vocabulary, you write it here, and then you have the total score, no? And you write feedback, no, to give to the students. No? So I think these are 2 very good formats. Now, and I'm sure that you have your own, or the school provides you with some similar formats, no? Or you can always adapt them, no, to the school where you're working. But it's important that you keep all this documentation, all this. I mean, so you have your backup, no? In case the students complain, then you show them, no, what the process was. You told them that they made mistakes and that the mechanics was very low, and so you know what the students have to to reinforce, no, for the next assessment. Great. I think this is a very good example. On the next pages, we have the task 1 model assessment, and we have task 2, task 3, no, which come from the same example, no, from the writing example number 9, no. But I'm afraid that because it's 6:15 already, I think that this session is going to finish in 1 or 2 minutes. Abby, can you know how much time we have, or Andrea, how much time we have left?
2 minutes, Prof.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah. So we're going to stop that, and Andrea, I'm going to ask you to please record this session. Make sure that you have the file with the recording. That usually takes a few minutes. So what about beginning the next session in 10 minutes? No, so at 6:25.
Yes.
So this will give you time. No, this will give you time to read the next 2 pages, 116, 17, 18, probably. No, hopefully you can read the two extra examples that we have here. No?